We are live. We're live again in high G's with no intro, no countdown this week, and although we're going to be talking music, no tunes because YouTube and Facebook banned us, blocked the videos last week. And we want to make it easier for people to access and watch this because we've had some pretty good feedback about these conversations. So we're not going to be playing the music tonight, but one of the things that we are doing is we're compiling a playlist of all the songs that we talk about on this series of the JFDI podcast. So tonight it is my great pleasure to introduce to you a very, very good friend of mine, whose name has given everyone that knows him lots of fun over the years, especially as our children have grown up. And they say, "What? Dad, you know Gary Barlow?" Yes, yes, I do. The one and only, or not the one and only, the original. It's my great pleasure to have him with me here tonight, talking what we normally talk, which to some will be complete shit. But we're going to cover a raft of topics, no doubt, tonight. So without further ado, will you give a big warm welcome to the now somewhat smaller Gary Barlow. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Graham. How are you, man?
I'm very, very well. How you doing?
Good. I'd just like to point out, firstly, I think we talk shite as well, so everybody's going to just sort of realise how bad it is.
Yes, it wasn't like me saying I've got Gary Barlow on tonight and therefore it's going to be shit. It's that we talk shit all the time. So
it is. It's just
and we both agree on that.
Yeah, it's our thing.
It is indeed. So how are you this fine Thursday evening?
It's closer to Friday, which is good. So that always makes me happy on a Thursday. Weekends coming, but well, we'll say the weekend's coming. It's just like one day is the same as the other at the minute. It's not really the weekend anymore, is it? But you still look forward to it.
We do. We look forward to the weekend, and as much as Monday to Thursday, I've been looking forward to Thursday nights. Before we started doing the podcast, people have been having to put up with me spinning tunes in here on a Thursday night as well. So I kind of quite look forward to Thursday nights, but I was very, very excited about tonight. Very. Because you don't know what questions I've got written down.
You're only human to be excited for me. It's fine.
Well, I know. This is it. So everybody knows that we're talking about. Let me get rid of this. There's a cushion attacking me. We're gonna talk tunes, and I was just explaining before you come on. We spun the tunes last week with Colin, but I think you and I agreed going to be best if we.
Yeah.
For people that might like our blend of shit talk and want to watch it, and if YouTube are taking it down, it just it makes it a little bit easier if we just talk about the tunes. So
it's probably better. It's probably better. Some people don't actually hear the tunes you picked anyway.
Well, that leads brilliantly on to your first choice of song, which is Mr. Manilow, Barry Manilow, and I write the songs.
Yeah.
So what's the story with that?
Just takes me back to a time when everything was simpler. There was no hassle in the world. You were young. I don't know about anybody else's mum or parents, whatever. A Sunday in our house was cleaning day. Now we're going back to the sort of
cleaning day.
Cleaning day. My mum used to clean the house top to bottom on a Sunday.
Okay.
So the record player was on while she was cleaning, and she put one of two albums on. It was Barry Manilow or Dr. Hook. So by the time I was about 10, I knew every single word to every single Barry Manilow and Dr. Hook song. And it just takes me back, when you think about music, it takes me back to a time when there was no problems in the world. Everything was fine. Everything was rosy. You were a child. You were innocent. The world was your oyster. And it sort of brings you back to a happy time in your life.
Yeah.
So it sort of reminds me of that. And I still have some of his music somewhere in the house, but don't tell anyone. There's only me and you ever going to see this, so that's fine. So nobody's going to know.
Do you know that I actually? So confession. I actually bought. So I have a little bit of a thing for vinyl, and I'm not. And I went through a phase of not being too fussed about like what I was buying. I just needed to get my hands on it,
Yeah.
and I like going into charity shops. And I remember coming out with this charity shop, and Karen was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "I bought a Barry Manilow album." She's like, "How much was it?" I says, "I think it was about 79 pence." And it has that on it. I need to dig it out. It's in here somewhere. I know what you mean. I know what you mean, and I bet when it comes on, it just brings that sort of warmth, doesn't it? And it brings a bit of a smile.
It is, and like for his time as well, he was just so far ahead of it. And I thought, go back then, and and there was nothing more surprising than when he came out of the closet. Nothing more surprising. Shocked the music industry. I haven't been so shocked since Elton John.
Oh,
I think he was an absolute genius back in the 80s. Like he just had the housewife of the world eating out of his hand.
Yeah,
he was brilliant.
Yeah. And isn't it amazing when you think, and I think when you think about that, like you say, that much simpler world when we were that age, and you think of now and how like kids that are like that age that we were then, it's not that simple anymore, is it?
The whole world's changed. The whole dynamic of the world's changed. Things like this have ruined the childhood for most kids. I think they're so worried about people liking them and people liking their posts and people accepting them on social media that they forget there's a real world out there.
Yeah.
Like you don't run about. You still see kids knocking about the streets sometimes. Okay, not during a pandemic, hopefully, but you still see kids knocking about the street, but it's nowhere near as much. They're missing out on the whole part of the childhood that we had.
Yeah.
So it's
very
sad.
Different.
It's sad.
I read somewhere last week about the amount of data that is being consumed, and it said that the average person today consumes as much data through all forms of media as somebody that was living in the 1500s did in their entire life in one day. One day.
Very believable.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is very believable.
Absolutely crazy. I know. Yes, indeed. And that and we won't go into actually how long ago that was. Well, I think most people our age will know exactly. But when we were 10, that was a long time ago.
It was early 80s, mate. I'm fast approaching in 2 months. 2 months will be the big 50, like so.
I know.
It scares you too.
Isn't it crazy? Absolutely crazy. So let's move on just a few years down the line, because that sort of must be mid 80s, was it around, or mid to late 80s for your next song, Soul to Soul, Back to Life?
Late 80s.
Late 80s, was it 88?
88, 89, around there.
Yeah. Jazzy B.
Reason I picked that is I'd just left home. I was 17. I'd never been to London before. I'd never been, away by myself before. And that's when I joined the old job. So I went across to London, then up to Lincolnshire I was meant to be, how many weeks was it meant to be? 6. I was there about 13 or 14. And then we went to West Drayton. Yeah. Now, you have to remember.
How did you end up at was it Swinderby?
Yeah.
How did you end up there for 14 weeks? What happened there?
Because I didn't master how to stop quickly at a medicine ball without wrecking my ankle.
Oh.
Run up to a medicine ball. My ankle stopped. The rest of my body decided to go on and just snapped everything that was there. So it about 4 or 5 weeks in holding flight and crutches and all that kind of messing about. But
what would you actually do on holding flight?
Whenever you're all that I can remember is you used to march behind your flight on crutches, right? And then and they didn't slow down. Actually, you're going like trying to keep up with these crutches, and the blisters in your hands. I always remember the blisters in your hands, and you're wrapping the crutches in putties around the crutches to stop the grip. So stuff like I always remember that. But while your flight was away doing stuff, you had to go. Most of the time, you just had to go and sit in a room. This room you just went and sat in. Plus, I was getting quite.
Was that when you started smoking then?
No, it wasn't far from it, to be honest. But the only good thing is I was getting quite extensive physio on it. So every day I was in getting physio and treatment and stuff like that. So I was getting that for most of the time.
Yeah.
So it was quite good, and it did heal up a lot better and quicker than it should have, I thought. But anyway, you're sidetracking me. Right, soul to soul.
It's all right. It's cool.
What's the nightclub in Uxbridge?
Was it Regals?
That's the one. I could never remember the name of it. Regals or I always get Regals and Regimes mixed up, but I think Regimes was in Stoke, right? That's a different story. But and I'd never heard this. I used to go to a place in Banbridge all the time. That was the nightclub I went to before I left, and it was your Erasures, it was Bros, it was all the namby-pamby stuff, right? I remember going into Regals, and this song came on, and I had never heard anything like it before. And it was Soul to Soul, Back to Life. And the whole dance floor just filled, and everybody went mental for this song. I'd never heard it, and it changed the way I thought about music, and I thought that song sort of changed the dance and soul movement for me. It was I think it was just up there as far as it went, and it just changed the way I looked at music. I just thought it was just like nothing I'd heard before, and I loved it. It was just
it was good, and I know what you mean about it kind of changing the face, because there was a different kind of vibe to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was just some more mellow, but still had the beat.
Yeah,
it was just you could relax to it and you could dance to it, and there was never a song like that for me. There's nothing you could sort of relaxed while dancing to. It was just smooth. It just changed the whole dynamic of music for me.
Yeah, and Jazzy B's voice.
Yeah.
It was something. It's something, isn't it? I mean, even now I listen to him because he does. You hear him pop up occasionally, and even now, I mean, he must be in his 60s.
He must be. I haven't heard from him about him in years, to be honest with you. I haven't seen him in anything, so I cannot comment.
So that was at Uxbridge that you heard that, which was towards. Would be trade training.
It was 89.
Yeah,
1989.
And then from West Drayton, what happened?
I must have annoyed somebody there, because it sent me to Buchan. But I always remember. I can't remember the ordering. Me and Gabs.
Yeah,
we went through training together, and we were pretty good mates, to be honest with you. Like I'd been to Redcar and all, see his parents and stuff, and I can't remember which order it was in. I think they said to Gabs, "You're going to Buchan." The way they put you in the room and tell you where you're going.
Yeah. So
everybody was going through. I think it was only us two left, and maybe I'm wrong. And they were going. You're going to Neatishead. You're going to Bulmer. You're Bulmer. You're Bulmer. You're Neatishead. The Gabs, you're Buchan, and I think it was me started laughing. I was one of the. I can't remember if it was me or him or me, which way it was, but I remember the final line. Right, was I think they said to him, "You're going to Buchan." I burst out laughing, or it might have been him. I can't remember which way it was, and I went, "Don't know what you're laughing at," and help him carry his bags. So that's how it was told. I think it was Di Dempsey told us that you can carry his bag. So out of the whole thing, only us two went there.
Yeah.
So yes, made the joyous train journey the whole way up.
What happened on the train?
Whatever happens in that train, there's never any seats, so you're standing from London to Aberdeen the whole way. There's never a seat on it, so you just have to, take the whole stand the whole way as you get up there.
Yeah.
Then of course you get this. And then once you get past Aberdeen, you know, thinking, oh, nice big city, I'm fine here. You get on this bus that just takes you to the absolute crotch of nowhere. And it didn't even drop you off. It dropped you off in the main road and you had to walk up Newton Farm Hill.
Yeah. You get thrown off that bus with the wind from the North Sea blasting you full in the face. You're looking out, all you can see is the sea on one side, tree, grass, and like not much else on the other. And you're told up there.
I would have preferred if the bus driver had actually stopped, though.
Straight away.
And that
was it.
And there endeth my life.
So what would you say of that? So how long did you spend in the Air Force in the end?
6. Just about a couple of months shy of 6.
What do you remember most about your time in?
Hangovers. Mm-hmm. And dying the next day. But you've just lots of wee memories. The time, what I remember most is just the camaraderie and the friendship we all made. Like, look at us now, we're still talking to each other after, 30 years? You know, and we're still winding each other up and giving each other grief and, you know, still very much part of each other's lives. And that doesn't go away, you know. No. So that's the most thing. The job itself, as I think I've mentioned to you before, I remember very little about. I just can't remember what I did. But I think as most people know me, when I was up there, I did sort of like to drink a wee bit.
One or two,
just a wee bit. So most of my time there was sort of spent, as I say, hungover or actually in the state of drunkenness. But
2 days, 2 nights, pub, 4 days.
I like to have a wee beer now, but it's maybe the Northern Irishman in me. I don't know. I just like to have a wee beer. But no, it was the making of me and the ruining of me in a lot of ways, you know. So yeah, I'm thankful for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's apart from hangovers. Do you remember anything about? What do you remember about the job?
I remember when you guys were over here last year, and they were all sitting talking about how they used to do this and how to do that and this, that, and that. And in work they would do this and they would do that. And I was thinking, going, did I even work there? Because I remember what a tote is. That's about it. But I sort of wasn't sort of like a dedicated scopy. I sort of done a couple of years on Sea-Watch and then training section, then Type 92. So I was never, but in 6 years I was in 3 different deployments within the same base.
Yeah.
And then 6 months, of course, overseas. But so, you know, I was changing job that often. You have to remember the time I was doing scopy stuff was the first 2 years.
Where?
And then I was doing mobiles and then training section, and then on the mobile. So I was quite varied. So all you guys talking about that was probably stuff like I never even did.
were you a dedicated swamp donkey?
No. I would follow the swamp donkeys and I would go and watch them, and I played a couple of 7s inter section ones and stuff like that. And then I decided, look, I'm going to start playing rugby again, because I played rugby from I was 7 until I was until I joined up. I played rugby religiously. It was my favourite sport in the world. And then played for the first game for the Swamp Donkeys. I actually dislocated my shoulder very early on.
Right.
I just went out. So I sort of went back in again fairly easily enough. So I tried to play on a wee bit longer, but I just couldn't do it. And then from that moment on, any time I'd done anything, my shoulder popped. So it was, I went and seen about it and stuff, and it was no good. And they said, "Oh, we can pin you and fix it, but you may never be able to play again anyway." So I says, "Look, I'll just stop playing."
Yeah.
You know, but rugby was my sport, like, and you know, I carried on playing basketball a wee bit up there, but rugby was my love. But I still went to the sports and socials and all that kind of stuff, wouldn't stop that.
Yeah.
But then whenever I knew I had to stop playing, as I say, it was only when I started trying to play again properly after a couple of years off, my shoulders went. The Air Force put me through my referees course and my coaching course and stuff. So I stayed involved, doing wee bits and pieces like that. Just trying to stay involved in the game. But no, I was watching as many matches as I could, like, when I was up there.
You had a few detachments during your time, didn't you? Any standout moments or things that
who gets detached the HMS Intrepid for 2 weeks with Malcolm Clark and doesn't have memories?
I would say anyone that knows Malcolm Clark.
See, I always remember we went down there.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Doctor Malcolm Clark.
I'm not sorry, Malk. No, you deserve this. And we went down to the Intrepid. It was where's it, Rosyth? So went down to Rosyth and onto the Intrepid, which is a flat-bottom marine landing, one of the big ship jobbers. We were down to just work computers there for 2 weeks. And so we got there. They put us in this one, I don't know what you call them, on ships. Everybody's sleeping in them, just...
The mess.
In the mess. Where the beds are. It wasn't the beds, the barracks kind of thing. It wasn't a mess. But we went into the bunks, and they put us into this place, and it was a load of Marines in there.
They called where they slept the mess. And what we called the mess, which was where we ate, they called answers on a postcard for anybody that's watching, because Gordon and I did HMS Glasgow. So that they where they sleep, they call the mess.
Is it? Good.
Is it the galley? Did they call the mess the galley?
Could be the galley. It could be the galley.
Yeah, Navy.
Well, it's the first time I ever heard the expression "Dobie dust."
Dobie dust.
That's the first time I ever heard it was on there. But and anybody who doesn't know what Dobie dust is, it's okay. Work it out yourselves, I'm not telling you. But we went in, there was all these Royal Marines in this mess, as you want to call it then. Malcolm Clark's first words, "All right, lads, get your fags out." And I just went, I didn't set us off in a good tone. But then a couple of them said, we're going in Inverkeithing for the night. Did I pronounce that right, Inverkeithing?
Inverkeithing, yeah.
Yeah. So we went down there. I think there's maybe one nightclub and a pub in there. And we went there and we got absolutely rode off because we were told the ship wasn't going for 2 days. So we got absolutely rode off. So I got back. I was sick as a pig. I really was. And we went back and we'd spent all our money. The pair of us had spent all our money because we thought, right, we're not going for another day. We can go to the bank and get more money. But it sailed the very next morning. So for 2 weeks, we had no money, no cigarettes, and we were both big smokers at the time and all that. So we spent 2 weeks actually scrounging off, guys, just to try and get by it. But it was a good attachment. It really, really was. It was quite interesting. It was during the World Cup in 1990, because every time England were playing, I would say Scotland, but they weren't there. But every time England were playing, they brought the ship in closer to shore to get a TV signal. So it was quite good the way they worked it. It was a good ship. The only other detachment I really had, I had ones here for a couple of days there and a couple of days here. It was Desert Storm for 6 months in Saudi.
6 months you were out there,
yeah. I went out in January and came back in June or July. I can't remember which one. But I was the only man for the first 3 months was like, they called me Casper because I had no tan. Because I worked the night shift.
Well, permanently?
Yeah. So I worked the night shift and slept all day. But you see, that was fine. Me and another guy went, right, who's doing days, who's doing nights? I straight away went said nights, no problem at all. Yeah. As we Greg was doing the day shifts. But you see, I'd watched the news and I'd worked out that scuds come at night. So he's trying to sleep during the night with all these air raid sirens going off. He never slept for 2 or 3 months. I was asleep during the day like that every day. So I was fine. I may have been white, but was well rested.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
was
so
saying the other day. I remember the some of the blueies. I probably still got them somewhere. You know, never thrown anything like that out. That's the you know, and none of that now. You know, everything, all
it's all
communications to
digital.
the outside world had to be handwritten, blueies, sealed, forces aerograms in the post, and you would get them a few days later. And then, you know, phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much was a phone card?
I don't know. What I used to do was go to a telephone exchange,
Yes.
a building, and there's maybe 100 phones in there, and you had to pay money and queue up to use these phones.
Yeah. For
You
like
know, and it
5 minutes
was,
or something.
yeah, it was surreal. It was very, very
Yeah,
surreal.
crazy, wasn't it? Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So a few detachments. Did you do any sporting kind of uh, pursuits or detachments?
Just went away to play. I didn't do any of your skiing or anything like that, but a couple of times, you know, when you're part of the basketball squad, we had to go away and play other units. It was that kind of thing, you know, went to West Drayton, Linton upon Ouse,
Yeah,
just several different places, you know. So it was just like they were only day trips, day flight down, stay overnight, back up again, you know. But there's no real sporting or longevity ones, you know. It was all fairly, fairly
yeah.
quick. The best one I ever done was sitting in the crew room one day, and I can't remember who I come in and says, it was guys from the Faroes were down visiting. And I said, does anybody want to go take the Faroes guys on a whiskey tour, on the whiskey trail? I think it was me and Big Stu Harry, just went.
And who?
So was
Big
it
Stu,
Stu Addison?
Stu Addison. Oh my
Aye,
lord.
I think it was him. So we spent the whole day on a bus with the guys from the Faroes going around all the different distilleries. So it was,
Drinking whiskey.
yeah,
Oh my lord.
I've had worse days at work. It was all right.
What kind of nick were the guys from Heroes in at the end of the day?
They're big drinkers. If I remember rightly, a lot of
Yeah.
them are big drinkers, like, you know. Eating
What-
fermented herring and mackerel is going to give you some line into your stomach, like, you know. But I can still remember the best whiskey in that whole trip was Glenfarclas. Unbelievable.
Glenfarclas.
Yeah, it's a cracking whiskey, single malt.
Mm.
It was
I've
the
not,
best one.
you know, not had that one. Not had it for a while.
Me neither, but I always remember the name of it because it was so nice.
Yeah.
That's a free tip for anybody who likes whiskey.
Glenfarclas. There you go. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So back at it would be back before I ask you before I ask you the next question, it kind of leads right into Blue Pearl, because that was still amongst the Bucking days. And
Oh yeah.
I'm going to let you tell your story, because my memories of you and Blue Pearl, I'm glad we spoke about that last night. I don't think anybody wants to hear about you strolling up the Flamingo Block corridor, absolutely starkers, fresh from the shower.
Never happened.
Loud as punch. I've
I
got
never.
that song in my head with that vision.
All I know about that is that carpet was fairly rough. I was walking up there. You took the skin off it. No, but no, I was one of these ones, and there was a lot of us up there that done it. That young guys getting money for the first time. We like our music. Let's spend all our music on a stereo system we can't afford. So I went in. I
Yeah,
went in. I went
Curries.
in Curry's. Bought like the biggest Technic system they had. Could never afford it. Paid it off. People have probably paid their student loans off quicker than it took me to pay this thing off. So I had that, and it was my favourite song at the time, and I always had it blasting in the room. And everybody sort of knew when they heard that song, oh, he's on a step. Well, they heard the stereo to begin with, but then they knew that was the song I was always playing. But I never let my door lock. My door was always open, and you'd come back, and there's people that had been in your room, and you come home, and you come back to the block, and you can hear Blue Pearl blasting before it even got there. Somebody like Bully or somebody had been in, sticking it on, you know, playing it at full belt. So it was always the one song I think everybody would sort of remember me about from there.
Yeah.
It just used to, the stereo was so good and so loud that you just heard it everywhere, and I played it all the time because I loved it. And then everybody started playing it when I wasn't even there, and just. But I think there's certain people who remember that song just for me.
Did that stereo go into the 4-man room in Flamingo Block with you?
I was never in the 4-man room.
Were you not?
No.
I thought you were.
No, never in a 4-man room. I got my own room. Because actually...
Did you?
Yeah, I never had a 4-man room because the 4-man room next to me, we moved to the new place when I was away for the 6 months.
Yeah.
And it actually kept me a single-man room. So you had my room there, and I think across from me was Niles Bonswell.
So do you know what? I said Flamingo Block. Flamingo Block was the straight corridor. Orkney Block was when we moved down to the new camp, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
And then I think Bladesy, and I can't remember who else was in the 4-man room next to me.
Yeah, Bladesy was in.
He was in there. Yeah, but I was the room right next to mine. But there was me and as well.
Yes, you were. Yeah, you were up there next to it, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, crikey, there's some stuff happened in that fucking 4-man room. We'll wait until Bladesy comes on in a few weeks' time. Yeah. We'll maybe get some of them. So what was it just that general sort of time, and the whole like the stereo experience, and just it was constantly playing.
It was the best thing for bass and sound and beat that I had.
Yeah.
And when you get a new stereo, you just want to blow the absolute shite out of the speakers. So that's what I'd done constantly with that song because it was so good.
They gave it some in the Granada as well, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
2,000 watts of music power. They must have took all the wattage from their Hoovers.
So what one standout memory do you have from Flamingo Block?
There's so many wee bits and things, but the one that made me laugh the most was I can't remember who it was or what was happening, but again it involves me walking back from the shower, and I actually had a towel around me at this time, and I've got a tattoo on my arm with Gary on it.
Yeah.
And of course nobody knew me as Gary. So
of course everybody knew you as Paddy.
Yeah. So I can't remember who this guy was. It was an LAC who'd just been posted in. It was a brand new guy. And he asked me why I haven't got Gary tattooed on my arm. So it was me. I can't remember who else it was, but we just played it. That's the name of my boyfriend.
Yeah.
So for about 2 or 3 weeks, this guy believed that I was in a relationship with somebody called Gary, because he wouldn't think like Paddy was a fake name. He thought that was my name. I was just so gullible, just to rip the absolute shite out of him for a couple of weeks. But I always remember again that was walking down the corridor, because my room was the very last room in the block.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so the showers were the very opposite end. Yeah. And I would just like to point out, I wasn't walking naked by choice that time. Somebody had half-inched my towel.
Somebody stole your towel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you owned it.
I did. All I would have needed is Right Said Fred or something playing. It's just down the corridor.
Oh, brilliant!
Not one shit given.
Yeah. So, listen, we're halfway through an hour, and almost perfectly. It's like I think there's a lot of stories that we could tell about those days, about the times in the block, about the times in the G. There's a
lot of won't tell.
What will you tell about Gusset House? Why was it called that?
Does it look like a froze?
It was what?
Does it look like I froze? I'm just pretending the signal's dropped.
You're frozen. Let's see.
so many. There's only one thing we'll talk about there was the party.
The party. The party.
I think anybody I know who was at it says it's like the best party they have ever been to.
Yeah.
You know, and won't go into details of the party and stuff, but it was just toga party. Remember you there? Yeah.
I wasn't there. I'm not going home that weekend. But I know. Yeah, I know all about it.
There's a lot of people got a lot of.
Shit. A lot of people there, weren't there?
Oh,
including the orderly corporal.
He wasn't there dancing in the living
room. It's all right. Didn't say any names. I feel.
And there was no officer standing at 7 o'clock in the morning doing the dishes in their number 2 dress.
No, none at all.
No, but no, it was. I think it was things like that really made it. It was a great party. It was a great night. I passed out at one stage and woke up a couple of hours later back on it. But I think it was just so many people there, and there was no complaints from the neighbours. We advised the neighbours were having a party and invited them all to it.
Yeah.
You know, but it was some guy on the far side of the village complained about it.
In the far side of the village?
Aye. And he said we're in the playground smashing bottles. There was nobody from the party was in the playground the whole night. He said we're in there smashing bottles, causing ruckus. Nobody was. And he complained. And the 4 or 5 of us that lived in the house, I think it was 4 officially and 5 in total, that lived in the house, just sort of trailed in.
Yeah.
Right. You're not allowed to live off camp again. Back in. Oof. So we got absolutely crucified for it. But worth every single minute of
it. Don't regret one single second.
No.
Not.
I think anybody who was there, orderly corporal, will tell you how good it was. Like, it was just a really good night.
Yeah.
And Mr. Jeff Murgatroyd walking about with his teapot with a leather chamois in it full of punch. Great stuff. Anytime you went to a party with Jeff, he had a teapot with a leather chamois in it and punch inside it. I don't know what the idea of the leather chamois was. Maybe he can tell you. It was just his thing, you know. But,
no clue.
No, but that was a highlight of the 6 years and a low light as well for obvious reasons. But it was good night.
It was good. It was good. Mm-hmm. So what then after all the stories and your detachments and your time in the military came to an end? What sort of was the deciding factor in you leaving?
I had no choice. I basically had to leave. I was suffering with mental health when mental health was sort of taboo and frowned upon, and there was no help for it. I was getting panic attacks and anxiety attacks quite often, and they didn't know how to deal with me or how to treat me. It's the way they tried to treat me was send me down to Swindon to a hospital as an inpatient several times. So, you know, they tried their best, but there was no real way of treating it back then. You know, they were just starting to discover what mental health was and what anxiety and stress and all were. And being in the service, you know, they knew how to treat severe cases like post-traumatic stress and all that stuff, but somebody like me, they didn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
So I was downgraded and told I couldn't re-sign when my 6 years was up because I was medically downgraded. And I just got a chance at a part-time job back home again. I was due to come out in the February, and in the December, I just said, right, I'm away. So I went, because I was getting no help. I thought maybe get back home again will help me.
Yeah.
So I went down, just said, I don't want to be here. Because they went, okay, it'll cost you such. That was on a Monday. By the Wednesday, I was back home.
Crikey, that's quick. Within a week?
2 days. 2 days.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
But they knew they could do nothing with me. There was no, they couldn't re-sign me. You know, I couldn't sign again. So it was just a case of, right, most people would agree anyway, he's no use. So just let's let him go. So I think I was.
Do you mind given a little bit more detail about how it sort of manifests itself with the type of sort of mental health challenge that you've had? Because a lot of people might not even have sort of heard of it. You know?
I don't know. It's back then, it was kind of people were like, what's wrong with him? Just give yourself a shake. It was just I suffer very badly from anxiety and panic attacks. I mean, they're crippling, and I
It's
think,
quite physical. It's physical with you as well, isn't it? It's like
it's
it's
physical.
a real physical thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it cripples me. It stops me from doing things. It physically stops me dead in my tracks.
Yeah.
If I'm doing something and I take an attack,
Travel's a big thing, isn't it, as well?
I don't travel
Yeah.
because of anxiety. I have the feeling if I'm not in control of something, if I'm not driving it, I can't control it. And that prevents me from going on buses, planes, trains, boats. If I'm not in control of it, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just a fear thing. If I cannot control it, I cannot do this.
Right.
So it physically does stop me from doing many things, and it's really badly affected my quality of life and enjoyment of life.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people are saying about lockdown this and lockdown that, how it's so bad for them. As I've told you before, so this is the normal for me. But even for me now, this is getting to a stage where I am anxious about lockdown. I actually need to go out now. So maybe this will have the reverse effect on me and flip me back over again to maybe think, well, I do need to go places, I do need to do stuff, because not having the option to do it is having an effect on me. Whereas before I had the option and chose not to do it.
Yeah.
Now I don't have the option and I want to do it. If
Yeah.
that makes any sense at all.
Well, it does, and it can. I think that can only be a good thing. That kind of flipped back round. Is it almost like, does it feel like almost like cabin fever now, where you're like, right, I need to get out.
Yeah, because I've been working at home since March last year.
Yeah.
And I do. There's lots of times I'm working it was a couple of months ago, I was doing 20 days with one off in work. So it is the job I do. It's not the most glamorous job in the world, but I enjoy it, and it's but it can be quite not stressful, but quite pressured. And you're doing all them days and hours and stuff. But so I think I went into work for 1 week, and that was in December. I went in for 1 week, but the rest I've been logging in from home every day and working.
And just working from home.
So I just need to get out, and there's nowhere you can go, or nothing you can do. I'm not one to go up walking mountains and out for long walks in the countryside and stuff. That's not me. So,
so when you say, when you say, like, over the years that it's had the effect of sort of affecting your quality of life. What's life been like since the military? And I guess, what was it like during that, in the sort of few years that followed your departure?
I think a lot of people would understand when I say that it was a hell of a struggle the first few years. You came away for a life where you're being told what to do. You're in a band of brothers. To be honest with you, the camaraderie. You live together, you eat together, you work together. It's disciplined. You have this, and then you come away. And for the first few years, I didn't cope. With the anxiety, you started to get sort of very depressed as well. And what I done, rather than go and seek help, because whenever I did seek help, there was nothing there for me before, was I sort of, best way to describe it was self-medicated with drink.
Yeah.
I could only function basically during the week. I was a mess, and at the weekend I would just go out and I would drink and drink and drink and drink. And at the time, it was allowing me to do stuff. It was allowing me to go out and go places, but I only had the confidence to do it when I was drunk or when I had a good drink. And it took me until I came out in 95. It took me 4 years to realize That's not right. And what turned it around for me and stopped me, I heard, as you know now, I would very rarely touch a drink now.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll have a pint in the rugby club, or when you guys come over, I'll go on the drink, but I wouldn't go out every weekend getting drunk, or wouldn't sit in the house. I wouldn't even sit in the house and have a drink. Like I'm sitting here tonight with water, that's me. But whenever,
ditto.
Yeah, whenever Nathan was born, that was kind of like a wake up call to me.
Yeah.
I went, right, this isn't all about you anymore. You have this young man here. So, it's sad it takes something like that, which is very important, but just to realize you've been abusing yourself and abusing your life and abusing your family.
Yeah.
And then just that one wee trigger.
I think that'll resonate with a lot of folk. I was the same. Just looking back, and you think, you know what? There comes a point in life where you got to stand up and accept and take that responsibility.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the perfect father, far from it. We'll admit that. But I always would credit him with actually saving me from myself. His arrival saved me from myself, because I was self-destructing, and I'm not too proud to admit that. I think.
Yeah, but you're brave enough to admit it, mate.
I am now, but back then, I didn't see it. I was just stuck in a selfish bubble of drink and self-pity and, woe is me.
Yeah.
I was so just feeling sorry for myself all the time. And the only way I could function was going and getting wellied at the weekend. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's still, I mean, I've been there. I know myself. It's like that kind of, I think it's the family, having children of your own, like you say, it can act as a wake up call. For me, it came a little bit later, which is ridiculous. But it does almost come when it does, like a slap across the face. And for me, it took something an awful lot worse, but a slap across the face to kind of say, well, look, if you're not going to do it now, when the hell are you going to do it? You're supposed to be a grown man. You've now got a family. Isn't it about time you've sorted your shit out?
I think the last time I was in a nightclub for many, many years was me and a certain Mr. Angus Neil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were wetting Nathan's head when he was born in 1999. And I think that was the last time I was in a nightclub, a proper nightclub. Yeah.
Crikey.
So it was that instant when he was born. It was that instant to me, right? Stop it. I remember the year 2000, everybody's going out celebrating, getting drunk, when the year 2000 came in.
Yeah.
I sat in the living room in the house, just me and Nathan. Elaine was working. She worked in a nightclub at the time. So she was out working. Me and Nathan, just us two in the living room in the house, just, midnight. I realized I'd rather spend time with him than go out and get drunk.
Yeah.
So that was an easy choice.
Yeah. So the next phase of life then, as your children are growing up, so obviously Nathan's born, and then along comes Taylor. Did through that period, did the children growing up, was the camaraderie aspect of the military sort of replaced, if you will, with the children growing up there? Because it's one of the things that people say, isn't it? You mentioned it earlier on tonight. You miss that when you leave, but there's almost children come along.
It's different.
It's very different, isn't it?
To me, you will never replace the camaraderie us guys had, and other guys we know, etc. You will never replace that, because there's nothing else like it. It's over here. Seeing your own wee platoon coming along is over here. It's very, very different, and Here you have us guys. It's camaraderie. It's fun. It's respect. With your children, it's pride and it's love.
Yeah.
You know, like I've been so proud of them for what they have accomplished and what they have done.
Yeah.
It's the pride that gets you. You know.
Yeah. Just...
And again, I'm not saying I could have done, and even now I'll say I could have done so many better things as a dad that I haven't done or didn't do, but they have still turned out to be. Well, you've met them, pair of idiots.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
Pair of idiots
they're both brilliant.
That I love very much. But
They are both absolutely fantastic and intelligent, clearly taking their mother's brains, as we've said, and looks.
And looks. I can't argue that whatsoever. There's no argument to be had.
Although I'll tell you one thing, Nathan certainly has your sense of humour. And it's one of the only thing when we're over that is funnier than you and Nathan when you get into a conversation and you're bouncing off each other is Nathan and Angus when they're together. And that they should have their own stand-up. They are absolutely hilarious.
That's what I said when we're getting the t-shirts printed. That's what I said and get the t-shirts printed for Nathan and Angus should be Stan and Ollie.
Yeah, it should be.
Because
it should be.
I've never seen the like of the pair of them. Like, they're just absolutely. Do you know we would perhaps lightly rib each other and have wee jags at each other. They just tear each other to bits.
I know.
And they both love it. They both love it. You can't get.
They just egg each other on and kind of like G each other up. They kind of like, it's like a competition.
They're pair of savages. They're just savage.
Yeah, they are.
But I'm not just saying they're being savage either, but it's the humour in which they deliver it and the way they deliver it. And I don't think, and I would kind of say if anybody had a bad thing to say about the other one.
Yeah.
No,
they wouldn't have it. They're allowed to say what they say about each other, but no one else is.
Seems pretty much like it.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Well, listen, would you mind, because I love this story, but to hear it from somebody else, I think you mentioned about the missing camaraderie, and you mentioned about the about Band of Brothers when you're in the military. Do you want to tell folk how? I think Facebook came around for most of us in and about 2007, 2007-ish, which is when a lot of our reconnecting started on the likes of Facebook, where there was maybe a bit of friends reunited before, or I think Facebook kind of kicked it off. But it was, for us, it was kind of really Twitter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That really kind of kick-started our little Band of Brothers reconnecting. Do you want to fill in the gaps between Twitter until the Belfast trip started? Because it's an amazing story.
Nice. Well, I just remember the first thing that happened when I realised I hadn't spoken to any of you guys for many years.
Yeah.
And I got a message. I don't know what it was on Twitter or Facebook. I got a message from you, and the first line of it was, "Where the hell did you go to?"
Yeah.
That was it. Just, where the hell did you go to? I was like, oh hello, Graham. Because then we started talking again a wee bit. And you were saying you just disappeared, but now you know the reason why. Like, it was only 2 days after I just went left.
Yeah.
And then we just started on Twitter, and we sort of then, I think we just very, very quickly realised that none of us had changed. We were all still arseholes. We're all still arseholes.
Unfortunately, depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah. And then we found that we had what you would call which is probably something we never talked about back in the day. Was we all had an absolute passion and love of boxing.
Yeah.
And, we're not saying we're all genius in it, but some of us know a wee bit about this and a wee bit, but I think when we got together and talked, we were quite knowledgeable about it as a collective. You know, we bounced off each other, and it was just going back and forth about boxing that sort of brought us even closer together.
We'll get you qualified as a judge yet, mate.
What?
I said we'll get you qualified as a judge yet.
No.
Mind you, some of the dodgy predictions that you've had over the years.
I don't like to go with the crowd. You all pick the favourite night. You all pick the favourite, and I just like to go outsider. Because one day, somebody that I pick is actually going to win a fight, and I'm going to be like, I told you so. And that's what's going to happen. One day.
So let's do it on here, because months before it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you so that everyone else can see. Who's going to win? Fury, Joshua?
Fury.
I knew you'd say that.
Because I don't rate AJ.
No, I know.
I just think he's just a 2000s version of Bruno.
But wasn't Bruno amazing?
Yes, but they've both got similar chins.
Oh, come on. Now, I mean, look, Vladimir Klitschko, right? Champion for 10 years, hit Joshua with some absolute steel hammer, and he got up and he beat him. So
only because Fury had already taken
his chin better than
Fury had already taken Klitschko's soul by that stage, though.
He took his soul before the fight. In the ring, he was beat about a month before Fury. Like, as soon as that Batman costume came out,
he ruined him. He absolutely ruined him. No, when I say I don't rate AJ, you know, I'm not going to tell him to his face. Let's be honest. But no, I just think Fury. If Fury has that in gear, he's the best in the world. Yeah. I think he's probably maybe if he has everything in the right place at the right time, I honestly believe he could be the best heavyweight there's ever been. Yeah, he is that skillful.
I tend to agree when it comes to those, and I've watched them, and I mean, you never know, but the one thing that he said that is very, very true, and it's why I kind of, is that with most people, most boxers and their trainers, they'll sit and they'll work out, you know, they're going in with a game plan and they'll have a plan B. That doesn't happen with Fury. He goes in the ring with a plan to win, and he said this himself. He doesn't know what he's going to do, and yes, they work through it, but it's one bit that I genuinely believe that he will have a rough plan, but he will move and flex from it and adapt and do what he needs to do to win. And I don't think that he knows before the fight what that will be. That it just, and I think it's natural. I think he's naturally talented in a way that, you know, Anthony Joshua has slogged it and worked hard, no doubt. Yeah. But there's a raw talent there with Fury that does not come along very often.
You're talking about a plan in A or a B. I don't think he needs it, because in there he has a plan A to Z.
Yeah,
he's so intelligent. You know,
right.
It's scary actually. Like, you know, the speed he has as well for a big man is just. I'm not just talking about the speed of his hands. Look how many people have tried to hit him in the head. Just.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
You know, it's unbelievable. It's
you've got to love the heavyweight division, haven't you? Got to love the heavyweight division. And yet,
because anything can happen.
Anything can happen, yes. And yet it wasn't a heavyweight fight that brought us all back. We'd come back together on Twitter, hadn't we? We were all catching up on Twitter for the fights and stuff like that. And then we briefly went our toe into creating our own website, SaturdayNightFightClub.com, which is still there. Some of our old reviews on it.
16 million views.
Really? That's not how I remember it.
16, just
16.
15 of them you.
Yeah. But it wasn't a heavyweight fight that actually that reunited us in person, was it?
No. It was, I think it was Mark says it was the Carl Frampton Scott Quigg fight.
Yeah,
wasn't it? And
it
Mark
was.
goes, "Why don't we try and get tickets for Or he said they tried to get tickets to see it in Manchester,
Yeah, because it was in
and
Manchester, wasn't it?
they were sold out and they couldn't get tickets. So
Yeah.
we just says, right, well, if you can't go it in Manchester, why not come and watch it in Belfast, where Frampton's from, in the pub, because it'll be buzzing."
Yeah.
So
And as it turned out, what pub did we watch it in? His local?
his local, well, not as local. It's not as local, but it's where he moved to. It's the pub.
Yeah, he
The
kind of
night, the night. I think it was the night, 2 nights after we were in there.
he was in the
It
pub,
was
wasn't he?
right. He was in.
Yeah.
So it's the pub he would have frequented where he moved to. But
Yeah.
but it was an interesting night, interesting day, interesting weekend.
Oh my god! And it was that good that we did it again. In fact, we've only missed 1 year. So that was 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
2016. Yeah, 16,
yeah,
17,
16, 17, 18,
18, and then
missed
20.
19 and 20. Yeah. So
yeah.
and it would have been,
And
this
we
weekend,
all,
it would actually have been this weekend, wouldn't it? Or next weekend?
next weekend.
Next weekend would have been the
Yeah.
2021 now, but coronavirus has kicked that into touch
Yeah.
for this year.
Yeah.
It's not cancelled, it's postponed.
Well, actually, we should tell the guys this now, what we spoke about last night, shouldn't we?
Yes. Hold on. I was looking at this weekend's fixtures. I don't know what the next ones is. So we need to look and see what fixtures we have.
So shall I tell folk what we were suggesting for anybody?
Suggest it. You fill air while I find out what matches are on.
Yes, let's do that. So what we were talking about was, as Gary said, next weekend would have been the weekend that we had planned on being in Belfast, all of us. So last year we ended up with, I'll tell you a little bit about those years. We started off with 6 of us and kind of increased numbers. Last year there was 15 of us there. So it would have been in 2 weeks' time where we would have been over, but obviously that's not happening. So what we are suggesting is that we do.
Was it the 26th, 27th weekend, was it?
Yes, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we were suggesting, you got something lined up there, was that for anybody that would have been considering or lined up to come to Belfast, or anybody that we'd even spoken about it, what we're considering doing. In fact, we're going to do it because you and I will do it, and then if anybody else wants to join us, then they can. We're going to set up a Zoom call similar to the ones that we set up monthly, but we're going to do a Zoom call for one of the rugby matches, because normally when we're in Belfast, we will have a reunion pint or two, just a light sherry normally on the Friday night. This is correct, right?
Oh yeah.
And then on the Saturday we convene at Lisburn Rugby Club for a lunch, and then rugby. Normally we've got either the first, second, or third team are playing at home, and then we have one of the Six Nation games on in the club, and we all sit, have a few drinks, have a great laugh. So we're going to do that, but we're going to do it over Zoom. So you need to provide your own match, but the match that we've chosen to open up the live Zoom and all watch it together, cue Gary, or that way.
On the 27th of February at 16:45.
That's the one.
Wales v England.
Oh yes, we'll have a bit of that. We'll have a bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There is a match. There is a match
England.
before it. Italy play Ireland before that, but on the 27th of February, Wales v England, Zoomathon.
There we go. So listen, I've got we're a bit over 9, but there's 2 more things that I want to ask you about. So obviously the last trip, I am thinking, does the last trip that we were over have anything to do with your last song choice? Does it?
I think you know that.
So
wouldn't you?
Jerry Cinnamon's Belter.
Yeah. I don't know. sort of accidentally came in to be the anthem of the weekend.
It did.
Everywhere we went, we were singing it, and and then we were singing it all weekend, and then we went to the Plough on the Saturday night, and the guy playing the music in the Plough just struck it up.
He did.
I just went nuts. It was just, and
I think we've not got a video of it.
There's a video floating about somewhere of it, but I just
there's
think it's something. There's
a few videos floating about for that weekend, eh, Hammy?
Yeah. Yes, Hammy, your video's spot on. Rip Van Winkle. But I just think to end the Saturday night with that song playing, it just sort of summed up the whole weekend. It was just, and as you stood there and looked around, just stand looking around, all the guys were dancing around the bar and singing and stuff and all like that. And you just went, you know what? It's been all right, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been brilliant. So to me, it sort of captivated. It just brought the whole weekend together. And it was.
It's never been anything. We said that after the first one, to a man, every single one of us said, we've not laughed this much in years. And then the next year, we said, we've laughed even more this weekend. We thought, will the sheen be taken off the second year because it was like novelty and we hadn't seen each other for so long? No. And then the second year was even better.
I sort of judge it by how many days it takes my ribs to recover. I'm not joking, I'm serious, because the first year I have never been in so much pain as I was the 2 days after it. Because I hadn't laughed so much in many years, and my ribs were just, I was just so sore. I really did take me days to recover after, and that was just purely from laughter and maybe shots. I don't know, but you're now banned. A shot with every drink. Good call, Graham.
So so we will definitely be doing it again. As soon as we possibly can. So that there's one other thing to ask you. You know what it is. I've saved I've saved this until last because.
Was this the one? Is this a surprise question you said you were going to ask me?
No. What's your American accent like?
No comment. Not one of our proudest moments, but it was funny.
No. We'll maybe share that one another time.
That's another time, but it ended up being very funny.
Yes, it did. It did. The last question is in and around what everybody has seen transform over the last sort of 6 months or so.
Since August?
Yeah, so 6 months. 6 months, 5 stone. First of all, on behalf of everybody that's watching, outstanding. You know how proud of you we all are.
You mentioned it.
What an amazing feat. So first of all, congratulations. But what inspired that to start from like where you were and to stick with, right through to to where you're at now? That wasn't easy. So, what inspired it and kind of what kept you going?
What inspired it was I couldn't put my socks on without getting out of breath. But that was actually, possibly joking aside, that was the turning point for me. One morning I just went, I was sitting on my bed when I put a sock on, and I actually had to physically, instead of just bringing my foot up, I physically had to grab my leg, bring it up, and put my sock on. And I just went, that's not right. So that was the eureka moment. Yeah. But I've been what you'd call a shite dieter for years. I've struggled on my weight for a long time. And what I've done, just after Taylor was born, I was 22, just over 22 stone. And I dieted for about a year.
Really says just wow, well done, Paddy.
Cheers, Julie. So I dieted for a year and got down to 17. But that was going to the gym every day. Seeing Ali's comment there.
I know. Sorry.
But that gradually went back onto me again until I was about 19 stone. And then was that, I actually have to say, it was that conversation you and me had outside the Premier Inn.
Yeah.
It wasn't a light bulb moment, but it sort of put the light bulb in the head.
Yeah.
Which
I still don't even know. I have no clue where that came from. But it was just
kind of spooky.
And
it put the light bulb in the head, which was, you just said quickly before I finish off with what it was.
Yeah, I didn't. It was after we got home. Did I tell you that? Right? No, I did. I told you right there and then. So
you told
this
me
was on the
outside, yeah.
Yeah, we were. This was on the Sunday outside the Premier Inn, and we were standing there, and I'd actually not drank a lot over the weekend because that was kind of like my big final sort of proving to myself that I could drink one or two.
Yeah.
I was standing outside, so it wasn't as if I'd, I was kind of full of booze, but we were standing in a circle outside the Premier Inn, and we were all just, I think we were all exhausting all of the stories of the last sort of like 25 years that hadn't already been shared over the weekend. And everybody was chatting, and I just kind of stood quietly. I was enjoying listening to the stories, but I was directly opposite in this sort of circle of us all from you. And I had a moment there where I kind of almost closed my eyes over a little bit, but as I was listening, and as I looked over at you, you were talking, and I heard you, and saw in my vision, like you from that weekend fade away, and the Gary Barlow that I remembered meeting at Buchan and having such a laugh with, was standing right in front of me to a T. It was like it almost appeared as a vision of that guy in front of me, and I smiled. And then when I told, did I take you aside and tell you, or did I say to everyone?
You took me aside and told me.
Yeah. And it just, I just thought, you know what, very, very, quite surreal for me. But yeah.
And I just thought, Pinky's never stopped smoking the weed, has it? Stoned again. But it's sort of it's put something in there, and then people are saying to me, "Oh, well done, you've done so well." But no, I don't. I don't want people to say well done. I'm just I shouldn't. No, I don't. Because I should never have let myself get in that state in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm angry at myself for that, and I have worked hard, and I have worked hard. I'm still walking every day and doing exercise every day, but I shouldn't have let it get to the point where I've had to lose so much weight.
Yeah.
So I failed at something, and then to get people to say, "Oh, well done for doing this. You've done so well. This, that, and the other. Inspirational." No. If it was inspirational or if I'd done so well, I would never have put myself in that position to begin with. So I'm just recovering. I'm not. I don't think I've done anything that people say inspirational. No. If I was inspirational, I would never have got to that size, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. But like a really good point there that you said, you're recovering. So my question there is, what's next?
Next is that.
Right.
Need to sort it out. I do think because
how do we do that?
I don't know because it's ruled my life for maybe 25 years.
Yeah.
Because I say the problem at the time was there wasn't any of these therapies or anything. There was no fix for it. People just went, give yourself a shake, get over yourself, give your head a wobble. Yeah. But now there's ways of dealing with it. So my question is, has it gone too far for me, or can I bring it back? And I want to try and bring it back. Yeah. I think and
that's the thing. That you're surrounded with people that have got your back, that will do whatever it takes to help you achieve that.
Yeah.
Baby steps, mate. That's all it is. It's baby steps, one step at a time. It's like, we kind of sometimes fall into that trap in life of thinking that you've got to take massive big leaps, and the reality is that small steps consistently over time is what eventually reaps the big rewards. So
I need to
yeah,
educate myself a wee bit first, a wee bit further in it, educate myself, and then JFDI.
JFDI. What a great place to end this week. Absolutely brilliant, mate. An hour and a quarter, and I could stay on talking to you all night. But
sometimes
it seems like I think it seems on that note a great place to finish.
No problem. Well, thanks.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
us. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Listen, we've had some more comments on there as well. Let me just put some of the ones up that I didn't. We can give a shout out. We saw that from was the Stereo Technics? Yeah, I think it was,
yes,
wasn't
it?
Did you see what Ali had said there? Walter D's. Was that Walter D. Allen's?
What?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, look, Walter D. Allen's. Yes.
Economical goods for ladies.
Oh, unbelievable. Those were the days, eh?
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Right, listen, thank you all very much, everybody, for tuning in. Hopefully we don't get shut down with the old Facebook and YouTube police this time. Gary, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks
very much, mate. Thanks to everyone who's commented on. Thank you. See you later.